From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Well, the wait is over as Joe Biden has selected a former rival, California Senator Kamala Harris, to be his running mate in the race for the White House. Natalie Brand has more tonight from Washington.
After weeks vetting more than a dozen vice presidential contenders, Joe Biden revealed Kamala Harris will share the presidential ticket. After the announcement, Harris tweeted, "I'm honored to join him as our party's nominee for vice president and do what it takes to make him our commander-in-chief." Biden described Harris as a fearless fighter for the little guy and noted that she had worked with his late son Beau when he was Delaware's attorney general. The 55-year-old first-term California senator previously served as state attorney general and before that, the San Francisco district attorney. While Harris's record as a former prosecutor and California attorney general has been scrutinized, as a senator, she's become a vocal proponent of sweeping police reform. Harris also brings her base of supporters from her own 2020 presidential bid. She was briefly among the frontrunners and memorably went after Biden during an early debate.
You also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
President Trump took aim at Harris's primary performance and accused her of being part of the, quote, radical left.
She did very, very poorly in the primaries, as you know. She was expected to do well, and she ended up at right around 2%.
Senator Harris is only the third woman and first woman of color to be on a major party's presidential ticket. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Biden and Harris are scheduled to make their first appearance as running mates on Wednesday afternoon in Delaware. Tonight, Biden's choice getting reaction here in Montana, where both of our U.S. senators weighed in on the pick. Democratic Senator Jon Tester serves with Harris in the Senate, calls her a friend, and says she is an excellent pick for vice president. Tester says Harris is a proven fighter who will continue to fight for working families across the country. Republican Senator Steve Daines also serves in the Senate with Harris and shared a much different reaction. He says Harris is as liberal as they come. He added that if she and Steve Bullock are elected, they'll lead the charge in a job-killing agenda. Well, Dr. Jason Atkins is a political science professor at MSU Billings who follows local and national politics closely. I asked him for his take on Biden's choice of Kamala Harris as his running mate.
Well, she brings a lot of things to the table. One is that she bridges the gap between, I think, the progressive and modern wings of the Democratic Party. Talk has been made of her embracing, these progressive issues, especially with racial equality and economic equality. But she also has worked, she was an attorney general of California for several years before she was elected to the Senate. She was a district attorney in San Francisco before she was the attorney general of California. So again, she kind of bridges both worlds.
The Democratic convention gets underway next week, but because of the pandemic, it won't be in person, which Atkins says could mean that candidates won't get the typical bump that they usually do. Well, the saga of the Green Party's ballot status for Montana's 2020 general election has taken yet another turn. MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison tells us the latest.
Just last Friday, a state judge in Helena ruled that all 5 Green Party candidates must be removed from the November 3rd ballot. District Judge James Reynolds said the state Republican Party had concealed its role in qualifying the Green Party, and therefore several hundred voter signatures used to qualify the Green Party could be withdrawn. That decision has been appealed to the Montana Supreme Court. But on Tuesday, another lawsuit was filed by 2 Montana Green Party candidates and 2 Green Party voters. The suit filed in U.S. District Court in Helena essentially asks a federal judge to overrule Reynolds and order the Green Party candidates to remain on the ballot. The lawsuit says Reynolds ordered unlawfully invalidated votes cast by nearly 800 Montanans in the June 3rd primary to nominate Green Party candidates. The Green Party candidates, if they appear on the ballot, are running for U.S. Senate, U.S. House, Governor, Attorney General, and a state Senate seat in Missoula. The Montana Democratic Party filed the original lawsuit in June that led to the state judge ordering Green Party candidates removed. Democrats said the state GOP conspired to qualify the Green Party in order to harm Democratic candidates in the general election. However this political tangle is sorted out, it must happen soon. The general election ballot must be certified for printing on August 20th, a week from Thursday. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
The state Supreme Court has ordered arguments on the case to be submitted by next Tuesday. Well, the hits keep coming on the COVID front as the state saw 3 new deaths today and 97 new cases. One of those deaths in Bighorn County, which is the 4th there in that county, the 14th since the pandemic began. Lewis and Clark County and Ravalli County saw the other 2 deaths, bringing the total of COVID-19 deaths in the state to 78. Petroleum and Carter counties are now the only areas of the state to not have seen any coronavirus cases. Total number of Montana cases sits at more than 5,000. In Bighorn County, Wyoming, an inmate tested positive for the virus. The sheriff says the man is recovering at the facility and is being quarantined. The sheriff's office is working with the Wyoming Health Department on contact tracing. All inmates and staff are being monitored, and the jail will undergo a deep cleaning. State of Montana will be directing some $50 million in coronavirus relief funds toward maintaining and expanding child care and support for Montana families. Grants will be available for organizations to ensure and build upon child care for school-aged children when they're out of the classroom. The grants will also be used for families with special circumstances requiring in-home care, such as a child that has an underlying health condition like severe asthma or immunocompromised. $8 million will be given as supplemental payments to all licensed and registered child care facilities to maintain and expand child care slots.
Especially related to the pandemic and heading into the school year with uncertain times. We need to make sure that families have the support they need to adjust to whatever the plans are for the school district and to make sure that kids are taken care of so parents can go back to work.
The child care grants and scholarships become available on August 19th at covidreliefmt.gov. Child care facilities will begin to be processed on September 1st. Positive news on the economic front as Montana economists predict unemployment rates will improve when students go back to school. Barbara Wagner, the chief economist with Montana Department of Labor and Industry, says in some districts schools are the biggest employer. Wagner says last year Montana public schools employed around 26,000 people, and it doubles to almost 40,000 when adding private schools and universities. So schools reopening will not only allow students to return, but some parents also to return to work.
We know that there's 100,000 kids whose only parent is in the workforce. So when schools closed, those parents needed to figure something else out, right? They had to take time off work. Maybe the kids went to grandma's.
Overall, Wagner says Montana's economy is recovering well compared to the rest of the United States. She says Montana sits at 7.1% unemployment, and the country sits around 10% for the month of July. However, larger areas like the Flathead that rely heavily on tourism still have a ways to go. Well, the suspect accused of shooting and killing a man in a Dairy Queen parking lot pled not guilty in court today. 30-year-old Raheem Calloway is charged with felony deliberate homicide in the death of 25-year-old Christian Henning. The judge set a bond of $500,000 for Calloway. The shooting happened Saturday afternoon in front of the restaurant on Honesta Drive. Court documents say Calloway shot Henning multiple times in the parking lot of the restaurant, then drove away from the scene. Henning was struck with bullets several times, once in the head, according to police. Prosecutors say the entire altercation started with a dispute that played out on social media about a $100 recording deal. Calloway initially ran from the scene of the murder, but then police said he turned himself in about 20 minutes after the shooting. Security cameras captured Calloway approaching the vehicle, firing rounds, and then eventually putting the gun through the window of the car where Henning was and firing again. The Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office continues to look for a man wanted in a shooting that happened in Shepherd last week that turned into a days-long manhunt near Alkali Creek. Police are looking for 32-year-old Brian Prettyweasel. He's a Native American, about 6 feet tall, 160 pounds. Police believe he could still be in the Billings area and may be armed and dangerous. Last week, police canvassed that area looking for 2 men, telling residents to shelter in place. Now, the other suspect, 29-year-old Talon Fritzler, appeared in Yellowstone County District Court Monday on a bench warrant He was arrested as a person of interest. Court documents say Fritzler was originally wanted back in June for tampering with evidence, drug possession, and criminal contempt. Police say neighbors watched as Fritzler emerged from the woods near Tumbleweed Drive last week as that manhunt was ongoing. Law enforcement quickly arrested him. The judge continued his bond at $25,000. Well, in about 2 weeks, kids in Lockwood will hit the books for another year of school during the COVID-19 pandemic. School administrators are planning to educate with a hybrid model. Different sections of students come to class on different days, supplemented with online learning. Lockwood's plan to reopen includes 3 different scenarios that staff is prepared to move between at a moment's notice if an outbreak does occur. The district is hiring 3 full-time substitute teachers to help in the event of a COVID-19 case in the school. School officials are looking for more help in the upcoming year.
So they'll be here every single day, and we can utilize them as needed. You know, we know that we're going to have teachers get sick, absent of the COVID. We know we're going to have maternity leaves and those type of things. And so the idea is to try and bring those people into the fold since we have those extra resources this year.
The full-time subs are being paid for with the help of about $300,000 in federal money from the CARES Act that was passed by Congress back in March. The new Lockwood High School will hold a grand opening ceremony for the community on its football field coming up on August 20th. And officials in Lockwood dedicated a new stretch of sidewalk today that was named in honor of a 16-year-old boy who was killed by a passing car on that road back in 2013. 5,100 feet of sidewalk stretching along the entire length of Beecraft Lane was dedicated to Dustin Freeze, who was killed while walking with a friend on the shoulder of the road. After his death, the community voted in a pedestrian safety committee and a mill levy worth about $200,000 a year to help plan and pay for future sidewalk improvements.
The irony, one day when I was knocking on doors on Beecraft, cars were going flying by, and I thought, well, what if I get run over while knocking on doors to try to make this happen? And so, as you can tell now, you just feel this separation from the road, how much safer it feels.
The Safety District has now helped to add about 3.5 miles of sidewalk to the Lockwood area since 2013. Still ahead on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news, a mask of a different kind. One Montana business has gotten creative in order to better reach its patients. But first, Bob McGuire's in next with your full 7-day forecast.